Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Quantum Feather. My name is Julie Flores, and I have created this podcast just to start having intellectual discussion about things that are not prevalent in our normal discussions every day, and even in the institutions of religion in which most of us attend. There's something going on in our world today, and I think that we must understand what is happening. There's a lot of misdirection, and somebody's truth might not be another person's truth. So, today we're going to talk about the angels, the archangels, and the spiritual hierarchy. And we're going to take a look from different perspectives, not just one, not just mine. We're going to read some literature. This is a part one of the series that I wanted to develop. I don't know how long it will take to get through it, but I think if we're able to open up a discussion about our beliefs and how we see things and what has been documented in history and what the scholars and other religious texts say, maybe we can start building a bigger picture about what is really happening in our world. We're all familiar with the angelics. We're all familiar with the fallen angels. And why are these beings so prevalent in all of our, and I can't say all, most of our religious texts? They make an appearance, they're talked about, and we're going to talk about that today as well. I'm going to do a lot of reading on this topic. So if you just want to listen to this podcast, it's not really meant to be a visual podcast. It's meant to be going over different scholarly texts, different religious texts, and my own personal opinions. So I'm going to just, every now and then, I may throw up a picture of an angelic. And let's start the discussion, and welcome to the Quantum Feather. So the first picture I'm going to put up is, this is Archangel Metatron. Now, this being is what is prompting me to take a closer look at what is going on. Even the creation of this being is not like any other archangel or angelic that we are familiar with. So give me a moment. And I'm going to start reading. So if you have any questions, please throw them up there. Let me make sure I have that open so I need to close this. Hold on. I actually need somebody to help me manage this stuff. It's just not. Okay. Okay, comments. There we go. Okay, I got the comments up. This is streaming live on Facebook, and it's streaming live on my YouTube page, The Quantum Feather. So if you would like to join and add comments, let me make a disclaimer before I start. I am not a religious scholar. I don't have the answers to everything. I am looking for answers. I can only share what is written and my own personal opinions. Some of the texts that I'm going to read in a lot of the religions were meant to teach patriarchal systems about the different spiritual beliefs in that group. Some men might even believe that I am not even worthy to read some of this stuff, but it's available. I want to know the answers. I believe that we have the right to access information in our own journey. So thank you for being here, and let's get started. Now, there in religious institutions, and even in the hidden institutions such as Masonic, the Masons, the Rosicrucians, the Jesuits. There's all of these different groups that hold certain knowledge about spirituality. Now, religions help to bring people together with the same like-mindedness. So the belief systems are what bring people together, such as if you're Christian, then that's your belief system, and Jesus is a big part of that institution. But even in Christian religion, there's so much difference between different institutions. So, have you noticed the Masonic symbols on the signs when you enter a city? Even a little city, a little town, there's a sign somewhere, and you will see the symbols of the Masons or the Lions Club, you know, or different ones. You are being told by those symbols what secret societies or make up the city. And it's usually the governmental structures and the religious structures of that city. We have just pushed aside the things that are right in front of our face, and we don't stop to realize. So if you okay, I'm sorry, the message that came up, and I am streaming to my profile, and I want to make sure I'm live so y'all can comment. Um, these institutions are in every city. Now, that is not the main focus of what I'm talking about today. But I just want people to understand, and maybe later we can do a deep dive into that. But you need to know what alliances have been made in the places we raise our children, in the places we work, in the places we evolve spiritually. So, traditions and institutions are a big part of how we develop in this spiritual growth in this world. We need to understand where we come from. Now, I have been a Christian all my life. I have studied the Bible. I don't have it memorized like most people. I have certain sections of the Bible that are my favorite. I think it's a history, and I think it also gives us information about bloodlines and about instruction on what God or Jesus would um, give to us during these times. So, however, our discussion today will be on angelic lineages. We will run into Archangel Metatron. I'm going to save him for last. I'm not a religious scholar. I'm a woman who wants to understand the role of these beings in the realm of humanity. Why? Because we worship blindly. There's a secret world behind the truth of our reality. I want to understand it. So join me into this deep dive. I welcome interaction as long as it is respectful, but that of opposite views of what I am sharing is totally welcome here. I am only trying to find answers, and so should you. So let's begin. Now, I am going to start with Metatron, but we're going to end with Metatron. So I'm going to give you just some information about who Archangel Metatron is. This in the New Age system today, he plays a big part. And at the end of this series, I want to talk about that. However, the story of Enoch and Metatron is deeply rooted in Jewish mysticism and apocryphal texts. Enoch's mentioned in Genesis was said to have walked faithfully with God, that he was taken to heaven without experiencing death. In some mystical traditions, particularly in the Book of Enoch and the Kabbalah text, Enoch was transformed into angel Metatron, becoming one of the most powerful celestial beings. This is my opinion about this information I just read. For God to take a human up to heaven without experiencing death is the first question we need to ask ourselves. What made this being so special? Because Jesus even had to die on the cross before he was taken up to heaven. Why are we being told this person, Enoch, was more special than Jesus? Now, I understand that Jesus came and that was his purpose, to show us how to go through transfiguration, which we are all going through right now as we are awakening and going through the spiritual shift. Jesus taught us how to leave these bodies, go into our spiritual bodies, and he was created new. He was made into a new image of himself, because even his disciples did not recognize him when he came to communicate with them before he transfigured back up to God. So my first question is, why the story of Enoch and Metatron is here? Because to me, it's a anomaly in religious teachings. So I just want to understand it. And let's go on. Metatron is often described as a heavenly scribe, a mediator between God and humanity. Okay, that's my second issue with this statement. I don't believe we need a mediator between us and God. Jesus allowed us to be able to have that personal relationship with the Creator. Now, as far as a heavenly scribe, all of us are written in the book of life. So that was already an ability ascribed to certain angels already. If you have an alternative view about that, please share it. Now, in some mystical traditions, particularly in the book of Enoch and Kabbalistic texts, Enoch was transformed into angel Metatron, becoming one of the most powerful celestial beings. A human became one of the most powerful celestial beings. Now, this is my own personal belief system, that we are learning and growing, that even to be here on this planet, experiencing what we're going through right now, our spiritual growth is more than just one lifetime. Maybe some could argue that Enoch has made the top of his class in that spiritual growth and was directly taken up to God. But then what about all the other billion of beings that come and go from this planet that are on the same spiritual journey? That's a question I ask myself. So some of the texts even refer to Metatron as the youth or little Yahweh, emphasizing his elevated status. His name does not appear in the Torah or the Bible. He is mentioned in the Talmud and various mystical writings. So we're going to talk about that. So Metatron appears in several mystical and esoteric texts, particularly within Jewish mysticism. Here are some key sources. The Talmud. Metatron is mentioned briefly in a few passages, often associated with divine authority and celestial roles. The Talmud is one of the most important texts in Rabbinic Judaism, serving as the foundation for Jewish law, ethics, philosophy, customs, and tradition. It consists of two main parts. And if I'm mispronouncing these, I don't do it disrespectfully. It's just because I don't know how to pronounce them correctly. So the mis the Mishana, a compilation of Jewish oral laws redacted around 200 CE by Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. The Gemara, a commentary and analysis of the Mishnah, completed between the 3rd and 6th century CE. These two versions of the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, the most widely studied version compiled in Babylonia, and the Jerusalem Talmud, compiled in the land of Israel, but less comprehensive than the Babylonian version. The Talmud is written in Hebrew and Aramaic and serves as the foundation for Jewish religious law and thought. It has been studied for centuries and continues to be a central text in Jewish scholarship and daily life. Now, the Book of Enoch, in some traditions, Enoch is transformed into Metatron after ascending to heaven. The Zohar, a foundational text of the Kabbalah, where Metatron is described as the prince of the presence and a celestial scribe. And the Sefer HaRazim, a mystical text that explores angelic hierarchies and divine secrets. The Hekalah literature, which we will be reading as well. The text, including 3 Enoch, elaborates on Metatron's role as a powerful angel and an intermediary between God and humanity. In the Jewish Apocrypha, various writings outside of the canonical Hebrew Bible reference Metatron's transformation and duties. The Sefer HaRazim, the Book of Secrets, is a Jewish mystical text, which we'll be reading parts of it, that focuses on angelic hierarchies and magical practices, while it's primarily deals with invoking angels for various purposes. It does mention Metatron in the context of celestial order and divine mysteries. Now, go to that, what they're saying, this is saying. And it's saying that invoking angels. We invoke angels all the time when we call them to assist us and help us. And in my understanding as a Christian, we are all assigned an angel upon birth that will help guide us divinely throughout our life. When we need them and we want their help, whether you are praying to Archangel Michael or Archangel Gabriel, you are invoking those celestial beings to help you. Now, Metatron is often depicted as a high-ranking angel, sometimes associated with divine wisdom and mediation between God and humanity. So let's talk about a term, because I came across this term and I didn't know what it meant. So I had to look at it a little further. So the term is pseudepigraphia. Pseudepigraphia. What that is, it refers to a collection of ancient texts that are falsely attributed to biblical figures. In the context of the Sefer HaRazim, it appears as part of the pseudepigrapha or graphia series, which is a scholarly effort to make ancient texts more accessible to researchers and students. The series focused on Jewish writings with the Hellenistic and Greco-Roman periods, often including works attributed to biblical personalities but originating from later traditions. Now, the Sefer HaRazim itself is a mystical text that explores angelic hierarchies and magical practices. It was translated by Michael A. Morgan and published as part of the Society of Biblical Literature Pseudepigraphia series, which aims to provide reliable English translations of significant ancient texts. The editorial committee overseeing the series includes scholars specializing in Jewish and Christian sources. I always have this knot in my chest when I hear people are transcribing texts that aren't even of their belief system into a system that is different from that system. Because what it does is it puts a personal view. It is seen through a lens of that religious study or that religious practice. It's not seen through a lens of, hey, let's take a look at it. The fact that it's calling it studio tells me that they want people to believe that it's fake, that it's not real. Why can't we just read something and discern for ourselves whether we believe it or not? We don't need stamps of approval from people who call themselves religious scholars. We all know intuitively and in our intuition whether something is true or false. And I think we need to start developing that again. I believe that when written language was created, it was created for several reasons. Now, spell work is done through a written language, writing it on documents and parchments. And also, the written word provides a certain frequency of your mind, of your thinking. It I feel like it traps you into a lesser understanding of the truth about something. Reading to us, yes, it helps us grow, it helps us learn. However, if you notice, like even back in Egypt, they didn't have individual letters, even in the Chinese alphabet. One one symbol meant a lot of things. It 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 transformed from a word into opening the mind to wider understanding of things. We have lost that in our alphabet and our language. Um, our language has been corrupted throughout the years so that even when we speak, we are not speaking a magical language. We're speaking a inverted version of that language. And I think this was created through writing. And like a lot of things in our world, it has been inverted. Now, let's talk about Archangel Raziel because his name came up. And let me tell you why it came up. Hold on. I didn't know who he was. I've heard his name before, so I wanted to add him to this discussion. So, who is Raziel the angel? Now, Raziel is known as the angel of secrets and keeper of all magic in Jewish mysticism. His name, Raziel, means God is my mystery. He is believed to stand close to God's throne, listening to divine conversations and recording them in the Sefer Raziel Hamalaka, Book of Raziel the Angel, which contains esoteric knowledge about the universe. Now, key aspects of this angel: divine knowledge. Raziel is said to have revealed hidden wisdom and mysteries, particularly in Kabbalistic teachings. Sefer Raziel HaMalakah, according to legend, Raziel gave this book to Adam and Eve, and after their expulsion from Eden, to help them understand divine secrets. The role in Jewish mysticism: Raziel is associated with the Seraphah, Chokmah, which means wisdom, in the Kabbalah, and is sometimes linked to other angelic orders like the Ophanim and Erelim. Connection to other figures: sometimes tradition suggests that the book was later passed down to Enoch, who became Metatron, then to Noah, and eventually to King Solomon. So the reason I brought Angel Raziel into this discussion is because it's connecting together Jewish text and Christian text. So, text in the Bible. So King Solomon and Noah are very prominent in our Bible, and so is Enoch, well, in the Christian Bible. Now, Raziel is often depicted as a guardian of divine wisdom, helping those who seek deeper spiritual understanding. The transformation of Enoch and Metatron is primarily detailed in 3 Enoch. And we talked about the Book of Palaces, which is the Sefer Hekalat. The mystical texts describe how Enoch was taken to heaven and transformed into the most powerful angel, Metatron, becoming the prince of the presence and the highest ranking celestial being. Now, Enoch's ascension and transformation. Now, in the Bible, Genesis 5:4, Enoch is described as someone who walked with God, which sets the foundation for later elevation. Enoch was taken to heaven. Unlike other biblical figures, Enoch does not experience death, but is instead taken directly into heaven. In 3 Enoch, Enoch is granted divine authority and transferred into Metatron, the Prince of Presence. Enoch is stripped of his earthly garments and clothed in divine robes, symbolizing his new status. He's anointed with sacred oil that grants him immense power and wisdom. And Metatron is given the throne next to God, signifying his role as a celestial ruler. Okay. Any comments to what I just read are welcome. I am not understanding how this great authority is given to one human on this planet. Jesus sits in the throne next to the Creator. So help me understand why Enoch is was given this special attributes and privileges to sit by God. Being called the lesser Yahweh, some texts refer to him as the lesser Yahweh. And of course, the scribe in heaven recording all human deeds and divine decrees. Now later, we're going to get deeper into Enoch. And Metatron. We're going to talk about Metatron's Q. Hold up, I'm going to scroll up some here. And we're going to talk about the angelic hierarchy. Now, in Jewish tradition, the angelic hierarchy is not explicitly detailed in the Torah. Hold on, I'm going to try to pull up something else here. This is, I didn't add this, but I found this is a picture of Archangel Raziel that was painted. It's actually a work of art that's available for people to see. It's not a AI generated image. And I'm going to keep that up while I continue on. Now, in Judaism, the angelic hierarchy, I know I'm not going to say this right, but according to the Maimonides, there are 10 ranks of angels listed from highest to lowest. So the Chayat HaKodesh, the highest order associated with divine enlightenment and supporting God's throne. The Phantom, known for their wisdom, they are described as the fiery wheels in Ezekiel's vision. The Erolim, angels of courage and understanding. Hashmalium represent love, kindness, and grace. The Seraphim, fiery angels associated with justice and purification. The Malachim, the general term for angels meaning messengers. Elohim, sometimes considered divine beings of powerful angels. B'nai Elohim, sons of God, often linked to celestial beings. The cherubim, guardians of sacred spaces such as the Garden of Eden. Ishium, sorry, yeah, I gotta grab Kleenex because my nose is running every time I get on here. Okay, and the Ishium, the lowest rank, closest to humanity, sometimes seen as our spiritual guides. Now, the classifications are based on interpretations found in the rabbinic text, the Kabbalistic writings, and mystical traditions. Now, we're going to talk about the Christian views on the angelic hierarchy. Now, the first sphere closest to God are the seraphim, fiery angels who worship God continuously, Isaiah 6, 1-7. The cherubim, guardians of divine glory, depicted with multiple faces, Genesis 3:24 and Ezekiel 10. Thrones represent divine justice and authority, Colossians 1:16. The second sphere, heavenly governors, are the dominions, oversee lower angels and maintain cosmic order. The virtues associated with miracles and divine strength, the powers or the warriors against evil forces. The third sphere, principalities, protect nations and oversee earthly affairs. Archangels, leaders among angels, including Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. Angels, the most familiar, serving as messengers and protectors. These are all in the Bible. And it talks about that Pseudo Dionysus, about saying that it is something that was made up. Now, they're saying that the aspects of the Pseudo Dionysus with the angelics or mystical theology. The Christian theologian and Neoplatonic philosopher from the late 5th and 6th century. His name, hold on, let me get his name. This is why his name is Decolesti Hierarchia. No, it was formalized in Decolestio Hierarchia. I don't see a name who did this. It just says Pseudo Dionysius the Areopagite was a Christian theologian and non-Platonic philosopher. He wrote a series of mystical and theological works known as the Corpus Areopagiticium, which had a profound influence on Christian thought, particularly in apophatic negative theology and angelology. It says here he claimed to be Dionysius the Areopagite, the Athenian convert of Paul, but scholars later determined he was different, unknown author. His work shaped medieval Christian mysticism, influencing figures like Thomas Aquinas, Meister Eckhart, and John Scotus Erugena. You can explore more. Now, angels continue to play a more significant role in spiritual traditions today, particularly in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Their functions vary across beliefs, but they are generally seen as messengers, protectors, and guides. And we talked about that too. Well, the roles of angels today. In Judaism, the angels worship Yahweh. In Christianity, the angels worship God the Father and Jesus Christ. In Islam, angels worship Allah, the one true God. Angels are depicted as eternal worshipers, constantly praising and serving God. In Judaism, angels are known as malachim, messengers. They do not have independent free will, but solely exist to fulfill their assigned tasks. Key figures in Judaism are Metatron, Gabriel, Michael, and Raphael. Christianity. Angels worship God the Father and Jesus. They serve as messengers, protectors, and warriors against evil. Some believe in guardian angels. And they talk about Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. In Islam, they worship Allah. They were created from light. They do not have free will and continuously glorify God. They record deeds, deliver divine messages, and protect believers. Key figures: Gabriel, Michael, Israfil, and Azrael. In Hinduism, devas are celestial beings similar to angels, responsible for maintaining cosmic order. They are worshipped as minor deities and serve higher gods like Vishnu and Shiva. Some devas act as protectors and guides for humans. Key figures: Indra, Agni, and Varuna. In Buddhism, devas exist in higher spiritual realms but are not immortal. They assist in spiritual enlightenment and protect Buddhist teachings. Their worship, the worship is direct towards Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, not devas. Key figures, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, y'all, because I can't. Other spiritual traditions, New Age beliefs, view angels as spiritual guides who help individuals on their life path. Some traditions believe in guardian spirits. The function similarly to angels. Gnostic texts describe angels as intermediaries between the divine and humanity. I'm trying to see if I missed any other text about where they're listed. Now, I do want to talk about something that some of these belief systems have mentioned. Now, they talk about the angels do not have free will. Now, to me, that I don't believe that. I believe every being within our universe, our solar system, in any hierarchical system that we have here, any being has free will. I do not believe God just only gave humans free will. I believe we're all here to make a determination about who we are, how we're going to grow. Even Lucifer chose to fall, rebelled against God. He had free will and was allowed to do that. So I don't believe a loving God would not give free will to the beings that he or her created. I'm open to any comments about that too. Um, I believe if we didn't have free will, that we will be living inside of a prison system. So this is just a basic overview about the angelics. I talked about Enoch and Metatron, which we will be getting into a lot more. I'll be reading actual texts from different religious systems. And at the end of this, at the end of the series that I'm doing, I will discuss my beliefs about what is going on and how these beings play a part in the ascension, the awakening, our current government, our current corporations. I believe these beings are more involved with us than we realize. That is why I'm talking about them. So, this is the end of what I'm sharing today. I hope we get comments. I hope we get comments that stimulate us intellectually, help us look at things differently, other points of view respectfully. But any comments that are just stupid, you know what I see a lot, y'all, and I love Jesus, okay? But do not put up there, Jesus is the only way. There are what we understand as the spiritual world is only but a little piece. I promise you, there's more to Jesus than what you're saying, but there's more to other spiritual personalities than just him. And we're going to look at that in other books. If you're open to read those books with me and to take a look into it, you're welcome here.
But if you were only stuck on one thing and you don't want to hear it, don't come. But we will discuss this respectfully in an environment through love. So thank you for joining me today. I will be doing another video and I will put an announcement for that one next time it comes up. So everybody have a great day and I'll see you later.